The final stretch of the 2025 NFL season is about to get crazy. Right now, a staggering 20 teams across the league still have a realistic shot at a playoff spot, and it feels like almost nothing is guaranteed right now. We've got divisions where 2, sometimes even 3 teams are battling for not just the division title, but for wildcard spots as well. Let's start in the AFC, where 10 teams are still realistically alive. The Patriots are the only team who've basically locked up a playoff spot, but haven't quite clinched the division title yet. But as for everyone else, it's absolute chaos. The AFC is so stacked this year that when you look at teams like the Ravens and Steelers sitting at 6-5, they're realistically fighting for only one playoff spot. Neither of these teams is guaranteed a wildcard spot in a tough conference, so their second head-to-head matchup later in the season is going to be massive in terms of determining who's going to win the North. And then you still got to look at a division like the AFC South, which has 3 teams still in contention. The Colts have a 1-game lead over the Jaguars, and I think Indy will hold on to the spot, but it's wild that the 7-4 Jaguars, who haven't looked great at any point this year, are in an arguably better situation than the Bills and Chiefs. And then you've got the Texans at 6-5, who've went 6-2 in their last 8 games. They're a team that's still getting better and has the number 1 defense in the league, so they're definitely still in the mix. And even looking at the AFC West, where it seems like it's the Broncos' division to lose, there's still 2 flawed but dangerous teams behind the Broncos fighting for a wildcard spot. And of course, I'm talking about the Chargers and Chiefs. So out of these 10 AFC contenders, 3 will miss the playoffs narrowly. With the Steelers and Ravens tied at 6-5 and still having to play each other again, one of them is probably going to be the first team out. It's crazy that one game is likely going to be the difference between having home field advantage in a playoff game or being sent home completely. And it's even crazier considering the Steelers have been leading the division pretty much all year, and the Ravens have won 5 straight games. One of these teams not making the playoffs is basically inevitable, but really crazy to think about. But who are the other 2 teams who will miss out? If the Chiefs had lost to the Colts last week, they'd basically be out of the race right now. And even though Kansas City looks like the worst we've ever seen in the Mahomes era, it's still really difficult to count them out. And you can say the same thing about Josh Allen and the Bills. I think when you look at the Chiefs and Texans, these are arguably better teams than the Jaguars, but Jacksonville has the record advantage. Mark your calendars for Sunday Night Football on December 7th, because the Chiefs have a head-to-head matchup against the Texans, where one team could potentially knock the other team out of playoff contention. The AFC playoff race is about to be a dogfight. A ton of these teams play each other down the stretch, and those head-to-head games are going to decide everything in terms of division titles, wildcard spots, or going home without even having a chance at the Super Bowl. Now let's shift our focus to the NFC, which might be even crazier down the stretch than the AFC. The Cowboys beating the Eagles on Sunday made this conference even more interesting. Dallas is playing as well as almost any team in the NFC right now, but they dug themselves a huge hole, sitting at 5-1. Their next 2 games against the Lions and Chiefs are huge. After that, they have 4 very winnable games, but winning the division is basically impossible, as the Eagles have almost locked it up, even with the loss last week. The NFC North might be the craziest division in football. 3 teams, the Packers, Lions, and Bears, have all held the division lead at some point this season. Early on, it looked like the Packers were the best team in the league. Then the Lions looked ready to run away with the division. Then the Bears won 4 in a row and jumped back to the top. I think the Lions will come back to win it, but the Bears' record is so strong that it's still hard to imagine them missing the playoffs entirely. And who knows, if the Lions end up narrowly losing a couple games down the stretch, they might miss the playoffs because the Packers are currently half a game ahead with that tie early in the season against the Cowboys. But then again, the Packers also are not playing their best football of the season, so we'll have to see where they go from here as well. Moving on to the NFC South, this division to me is similar to the AFC North. The Buccaneers and Panthers basically need to win the division to get into the playoffs. Tampa losing 3 straight opened the door for Carolina, but after that Monday night loss to the 49ers, their path gets a lot tougher. The NFC West is also really stacked, as the Rams are the Super Bowl favorites right now, and the Seahawks are 8-3, and probably the most exciting team to watch in the whole league. But we've yet to see if the Seahawks are going to be able to win big games and put themselves in a position to be in the playoffs. So the NFC Wild Card race is pretty crazy as well. And 3 out of the 4 divisions are realistically still up for grabs, and you never really know with the NFC East. Maybe the Cowboys could make a run, I just don't see it happening. But either way, the NFC West and NFC North alone have 4 potential wildcard teams. Divisional matchups are going to decide everything in the NFC. The 49ers and Bears have great records, but they still need to win 2 or 3 more games to lock in a playoff spot. And their upcoming schedules are difficult, and every game at this point feels like a playoff game. I think the Panthers will narrowly lose out the NFC South to the Bucs, and as much as I want to see the Cowboys sneak into the playoffs, I just don't see them winning multiple big games in a row. The Packers still have 2 huge matchups versus the Bears, and these head-to-head matchups might determine which one of these teams gets into the playoffs. And the same can be said about the 49ers' upcoming matchups with the Seahawks and Rams. So overall, the playoff picture across the NFL is going to come down to the wire. And the crazy thing is, with this many teams still alive, one shocking upset can flip the entire league upside down. That's going to do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did enjoy, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this through the rest of the NFL season. Let me know in the comment section what your predictions are in terms of which teams are going to make the playoffs and which ones will narrowly miss out. But that's going to do it for this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.